Hello my friends and welcome back to GLB Productions. My name is Bruno Luce. Thanks for joining me. In this video, we're going to compare two travel/small-bodied guitars from two very large and very influential guitar making companies. We have the Takamine Taka-mini and the Taylor GS Mini. Now both of these guitars are scaled down versions of body shapes that are proprietary or exclusive to the companies that produce them. The Taka-mini is a scaled down NEX body, the NEX body itself being a scaled down jumbo. So the Taka-mini is in effect a mini jumbo. The GS Mini, on the other hand, is a scaled down GS or Grand Symphony body style. The GS is actually a beefed up GA or Grand Auditorium, which for many years was Taylor's signature all-purpose do-it-all acoustic guitar shape. So I'm in a position where I have owned both of these guitars and I have used both of these guitars. Now, as you can see from the way the top has aged on the GS Mini, I've had the GS Mini longer. I've had this guitar for over 4 years and I've used it and I've played it in all manner of situations, both acoustically as well as with the ES-Go pickup system. I've played this guitar indoors, outdoors. I've played it for small groups of people. I've played it for large groups of people. I've played it in churches. I've played it in graveyards. I've played it in railway stations. So I know the GS Mini very well. The Taka-Mini, on the other hand, I've owned for about a month, but during that time I've used it fairly intensively, every single day in fact. And it has also been on an overseas trip during which it was used similarly, both plugged in as well as unplugged, for groups of people from 3 to about 30, and both outdoors as well as indoors. So I feel that I'm in a position to be able to make this comparison. So let's begin. First off, we're going to look at dimensions. Now I mentioned at the beginning of the video that these two guitars, the Taka-Mini on the left and the GS Mini on the right, are both scaled down versions of body shapes that are proprietary to their respective manufacturers. Having said that, the similarities between these two body shapes are extremely striking. In fact, they struck me as being so similar that I placed both guitars on the floor and traced around them so that I could get a more objective comparison. And my tracing is right here. Now, as you can see, the outline of the GS Mini is represented by the blue line, and the outline of the Taka-Mini is represented by the black line. And the two shapes are near as makes no difference. Basically, you're looking at the same shape. The Taka-Mini is very slightly longer and just slightly narrower across here than the GS Mini. The other obvious difference, of course, is that the Taka-Mini has the cutaway and the GS Mini does not. But apart from that, they're virtually the same. The GS Mini will fit in the Taka-Mini gig bag and vice versa with no fit issues whatsoever. And whether this is a case of parallel development or imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, we don't know. But the fact remains is that the outline of the guitars is essentially the same. Now, the measurements support this comparison. So the body length of the two guitars, the Taka-Mini is 18 inches or 46 centimeters, and the GS Mini is 17 5/8 or 45 centimeters, so 1 cm difference there. The body width measured across the lower bout is 14 inches or 36 centimeters on the Taka-Mini and 14 3/8 inches or 36.5 cm across for the GS Mini. So the GS Mini is very slightly shorter and just slightly broader in that dimension. Body depth is 4.13 inches or 10.5 cm on the Taka-Mini, and 4 7/16 or 11.3 cm on the GS Mini. So the GS Mini is significantly deeper than the Taka-Mini. And the other significant point to note, of course, is that the GS Mini has this bowl-shaped back with no bracing, whereas the Taka-Mini has a conventional braced back. And the GS Mini relies entirely on the strength of the laminate for its the back strength, and I can attest to the fact that the GS Mini is a strong guitar. I've dropped mine on a concrete floor and it shrugged it off as though nothing happened. So it's important to understand that these two guitars are very similar in terms of their overall shape. At the same time, there are three dimensions I feel that do make a significant difference. The first is scale length. The Taka-Mini, it's 22.5 inches or 57 centimeters, and on the GS Mini, it's 23.5 inches or 59.7 centimeters. So the GS Mini has a good inch more of scale length. The sound hole diameter is 3.5 inches or 9 cm on the Taka-Mini, and 4 inches or 10.2 cm on the GS Mini. So the GS Mini has what Taylor would refer to as a standard sized sound hole. The nut width on the Taka-Mini is 42 millimeters, and on the GS Mini is 42.5 millimeters, or Taylor's standard 1 11/16. This, while it's not a factor in the sound of the guitar, is definitely a factor in the playability of the guitar. I find that the GS Mini plays very much like a full-size guitar. The Taka-Mini without a capo is fine. Once you put a capo on, I find that that spacing begins to feel a little bit cramped, and I have large hands. At the same time, if you're a small adult or even a child, or if you have small hands, the Taka-Mini might suit you better. The last thing, which is more a point of interest than anything else, is the overall length of the guitars as measured from the tip of the headstock to the end pin, or the output jack in the case of the Taka-Mini. Now remember, the GS Mini has an extra inch of scale length, but overall it's actually the shorter guitar. Overall length is 37 inches on the Taka-Mini or 94 cm, and 36.6 inches or 93 cm on the GS Mini. And I think most of this has to do with the shape of the Taka-Mini headstock, the fact that it's got that point on the end, whereas the Taylor has that sort of crown shape, and overall it has a slightly more compact headstock. But again, we're only looking at 1 centimeter or 10 millimeters difference. The final thing under dimensions that we should talk about is the string gauge used, and this is crucial to the sound of the guitar. The Taka-Mini ships with standard light gauge strings, specifically D'Addario EXP 16s. The GS Mini uses medium gauge strings, which make a very, very significant contribution to the way that this guitar sounds, as you'll hear later. So that is the dimension comparison. Now let's move on to materials and construction. The Taka-Mini and the GS Mini are both solid top guitars with laminate back and sides. The Taka-Mini uses a solid spruce top. Taka-Mini don't say what type of spruce it is, but a comparison with the GS Mini would suggest that it's probably Sitka, the same as on the GS Mini. Back and sides of the two guitars are both laminate sapele. Again, Taka-Mini just say mahogany, but a comparison with the GS Mini suggests that it is in fact sapele. The bridge and fingerboard are rosewood, on the Takamine and ebony on the GS Mini. Taylor have a policy of making all of their guitars with ebony fingerboard and bridge. With Takamine, most of their guitars have a rosewood fingerboard and bridge. Ebony is reserved for the top-of-the-line models only. Both guitars feature a headstock overlay. You can see that the Takamine has a rosewood headstock overlay, and on the Taylor it's Lexan, which is basically black plastic. Now, when it comes to the nut and saddle, Takamine, again, don't say. Looking at it, it looks like plastic. On the GS Mini, Taylor described the material as new bone, whatever that is. The neck of both guitars is mahogany. Now, this is where there's a little bit of difference. The Taka-Mini neck is not sapele, it's some other kind of mahogany. On the GS Mini, the neck is sapele, according to the Taylor website. Tuners both feature mini die-cast tuners. On the Taka-Mini, these are quite mediocre. They work, but they have relatively sharp edges and corners, and in my experience, they don't feel very precise in use. You find yourself sort of searching for the note, and especially when tuning down, it feels like there's quite a bit of backlash in the tuner, so you have to go below the note and then bring it back up to pitch. With the GS Mini, the tuners feel relatively solid, and the rounded shape means that there are no sharp corners, so in use, it's a more ergonomic setup. Both guitars have plastic pickguards. On the Taka-Mini, it's black plastic. Now, those of you with a keen eye will probably have spotted the Singapore crest on the Taka-Mini. This particular guitar is a dealer exclusive to Davis Guitar in Singapore, and it's to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Singapore's independence. The standard model does not come with that crest, don't worry. The GS Mini has a faux tortoiseshell pickguard, also in plastic. That's, I think, just a matter of taste. Bridge pins, both guitars ship with plastic bridge pins, so nothing unusual there. So in terms of materials, I would say that the GS Mini has a very slight edge because it has the ebony bridge and fingerboard. Having said that, some people might prefer rosewood, so choose what you like. Where it really matters, the tone woods, the top and the back and sides, the guitars are equal. In terms of construction, the GS Mini uses Taylor's bolt-on NT neck, which greatly simplifies repair and adjustment. The neck angle can be adjusted by inserting or removing shims that every Taylor service center has. And if you break the neck on your guitar, it's a 15-minute process to replace it. The Taka-Mini uses a standard glue-on neck, probably using a dovetail neck joint, and it's something that Taka-Mini does extremely well, and I've not had a problem with any of my Taka-Mini necks. Finally, let's talk a little bit about the finishing and the general refinement of the two guitars. The Taka-Mini features a fully bound fingerboard and body with purfling and a relatively complex rosette. The GS Mini does not have binding on the body or fingerboard, although it does have purfling and it does have quite a nice rosette. So if these features and touches are important to you, you'll probably be more happy with the Taka-Mini because it has the binding and it has just a little bit more in the way of classy touches. Fit and finish on the two guitars, I'd say, is identical. Fretwork is identical, and just the general way in which the guitars are put together is about the same. The Taka-Mini is made in China, and the GS Mini is made in Mexico. Now let's discuss acoustic tone and volume. In terms of volume, the GS Mini is the clear winner. Taylor have managed to squeeze an incredible amount of volume out of this small body. And as we mentioned earlier, part of it has to do with the fact that the guitar uses medium strings. Part of it has to do with the full-size sound hole. And I'm sure that part of it also has to do with this curved back that helps to focus and project the sound forward. Even Bob Taylor on video has mentioned that the GS Mini is constantly fooling him into thinking that it's a full-size guitar being played, and I couldn't agree more. So let's hear the GS Mini. I would describe the tone of the GS Mini as being very forward, very strident, and overall very explosive. The sound just jumps out of the small guitar and runs everywhere. Because of the medium gauge strings, this guitar can handle flat picking and heavy strumming without bottoming out, and it still stays loud and clean. So I'll switch here to a slightly heavier pick and I'll strum hard so you can hear. At the same time, some would argue that the GS Mini lacks the sweetness of the Taka-Mini, which we'll hear next. Now when it comes to the Taka-Mini, I would say that volume-wise you get about what you would expect from a body of this size. The GS Mini is truly exceptional. The Taka-Mini is about what you'd expect. The tone of the Taka-Mini is different to the GS Mini. I would describe it as being sweeter, airier, and possibly a little bit more balanced. You could argue that this might be better for fingerstyle or for people who prefer that sort of tone. So let's hear the Taka-Mini. Now let's discuss electronics. In this department, the Taka-Mini is the clear winner, simply because as standard, it is supplied with an under-saddle piezo pickup and Takamini's TP4T preamp system, which has 3 bands of EQ and an onboard tuner. This is a wonderful all-in-one package that really is the way to go if you play amplified, and also it means that you always have a tuner with you. The GS Mini, on the other hand, does not come with any electronics at all in its base package. There is a ES Go pickup available, which is a magnetic sound hole pickup, and there is also a GS Mini E version, which is significantly more expensive than the base GS Mini. The other thing, of course, is that the GS Mini E is not available in Sapele at time of filming. So in terms of electronics, clear winner, Taka-Mini. Now let's talk about included accessories, which in the case of these two guitars refer to the respective gig bags. I suddenly feel real small. Now, in this department, there is no doubt in my mind that the Taylor GS Mini hard bag is the definite winner. To begin with, this bag is significantly more rigid than the one that comes with the Taka-Mini, and in terms of overall construction, it just feels a lot more robust. This main zipper is oversized and it looks like it's ready for a lifetime of opening and closing. On the Taka-Mini bag, the first time I opened the zipper, I actually bent one of the zipper pulls, and I've subsequently had to add a paracord pulls to avoid this happening again. I think with these zippers here, I've cranked on them for 4+ years and they're still going strong. The other thing about this bag, which we should look at, is the inside. Right? Now, with the GS Mini hard bag, you can see that it has this inside neck support, and it's also really thickly padded. This bag was very well designed and conceived, and despite the size, it will still fit in overhead compartments on aircraft. And I've flown with this not just in commercial jet aircraft. Believe it or not, I've actually flown with this in turboprop airliners, which have very small overhead compartments. I could still squeeze this guy in. It has a very large zip front pocket, and this front pocket will take A4 sized binders, clear holders, anything you want. And having a zip, a double zip nonetheless, it's really secure. Good handles with faux leather, again, haven't worn out. An excellent top handle. This handle is really important to allow you to sort of carry the bag in front of you when you're working through confined spaces, public transportation, that kind of thing. Backpack straps, which are about the same as on the Taka-Mini, and a couple of feet on the bottom. So wonderful bag built for the long haul. Now, let's have a look at the bag that comes with the Taka-Mini. Now, again, to put things in perspective, you got to remember that G-series guitars, of which the Taka-Mini is one, normally come with no case at all. So any case they provide is a bonus. And this is not a bad bag at all. Having said that, it's not the same as the bag that comes with the GS Mini. For one, we've already talked about the zippers. When you open the bag, you can see that it's just wrestle with it here a bit. When you open the bag, you can see that it's plain inside, all right? There's no neck support. There is protection here for the headstock and for the end pin. The padding is, I would say, about half that of what you get with the GS Mini hard bag. And you can see that the whole bag is relatively flexible. I couldn't do this with the GS Mini hard bag. So this is a gig bag, all right? It does not provide much in the way of crush protection for your guitar. The front pocket is Velcro, and it is not small, but you won't fit A4 size paper in there. It has a very nice padded grab handle here, which is riveted, and it has a set of shoulder straps which are about the same as that you get on the GS Mini bag. It does have a handle here, although the handle is actually part of the backpack straps. Now, the advantage of this, of course, is that the bag, when it's lying on its back, will lie flat, right? The GS Mini bag, because of that handle here, it won't quite lie flat, but it depends what you need. The Taka-Mini bag does have a very nice set of feet there that'll keep it off the ground. But in terms of protection, the bag supplied with the GS Mini is the clear winner. Now let's talk about price and value. At time of filming, December 2015, street price in Singapore for the Taka-Mini is 360 Singapore dollars. Street price on the GS Mini, the base version with no electronics, is 695 Singapore dollars. So the Taka-Mini is basically half the price of the GS Mini. If you want electronics, the GS Mini E, which is not available in Sepale, is $795, and the ES Go pickup, which can be retrofitted to the GS Mini, a passive system with no tone controls and no tuner, is 130 Singapore dollars. So in terms of value for money, my opinion is that the Taka-Mini is the clear winner. Half the price. And the fact of the matter is that unless you need the acoustic volume that the GS Mini provides so well, the Taka-Mini is perfectly adequate if you need it as a travel guitar for self-practice or just something to play on the couch. It's more than enough. So now it's time for our verdict, and let's just recap and talk about each guitar in turn. First of all, let's talk about the GS Mini. Now, the GS Mini, as we mentioned, provides greater acoustic volume and plays much more like a full-size guitar. It has a standard size sound hole and standard size nut. So if you need a small-bodied travel guitar that gives you the maximum acoustic projection in a small body, the GS Mini is the guitar for you. I'll give you a couple of examples where this guitar has really served me well. The first is a recent trip that I took to Cebu in Sarawak, and this was for a family reunion. And during the day, what we were doing was we were going around visiting the graves of relatives. I'm half Chinese, and as you know, Chinese graves tend to be on the hillside in relatively inaccessible places. And we were singing hymns at each grave, and I was accompanying and leading the singing of the hymns. And so I had to fly there with my guitar and then have enough acoustic horsepower to lead a group of about 25 people. And this was the perfect guitar for that. Everyone heard me and nobody said, "Could you turn up the guitar, please?" And then in the evening, what I had to do was I had to play in the hotel ballroom for the reception and also for the sort of dinner for the relatives. And at that time, I had the ES Go pickup installed. And although it was good, it doesn't offer a tuner and it doesn't offer tone controls. So that was something where I would have preferred to have the Taka-Mini. The Taka-Mini, as we mentioned, has superior electronics which come standard, don't have to buy anything extra. It has a good onboard tuner, 3 bands of EQ, and also it has what you would argue is a sweeter tone, all right? And may be more suitable for fingerstyle applications. Now, there are some situations in which you need a soft guitar, right? For example, playing late at night or playing in a house that is shared with other people. The GS Mini, although it can be played soft, in my opinion, it sounds best when it's played loud. The Taka-Mini does both light and medium very well, and the loud, it does okay. So if you need a balanced package and your hands are not too huge, meaning that you can cope with that slightly narrower nut, the Taka-Mini is the guitar for you. So in conclusion, both of these are excellent guitars. Both of these are a state-of-the-art expression of small body design and incredible performance in a compact package. The Taka-Mini is better value for money, and it's the one that I would choose if I had to buy just one of these guitars. Having said that, who has just one guitar, right? So if you need maximum acoustic horsepower, choose the GS Mini. Now, the best of both worlds, of course, would be if Takamine and Taylor got together and produced a Taka GS Mini. How about that? The GS Mini body with the Takamine electronics. But I guess that's a story for another day. This is Bruno Luce with GLB Productions. Thanks very much for watching. Please feel free to get in touch with questions or comments either in the comment section below, on Google Plus or on Facebook. Until the next video, take care, God bless you, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.